Hello, and welcome to another Steel Division Divisional overview. And today we're taking a look at the Big Red Wun, the one and only, the first infantry division. They weren't the first in the game, they're one of the last divisions to be added, but nonetheless they're here now and they're ready to storm the beaches of Normandy. So let's take a look at how, their deck looks in that game. So in terms of overall slots, you got a lot of infantry. Of course, and everything else is pretty good with quite a bit of artillery, air power, and anti-tank. 40 activation points, pretty standard for an infantry division. And economy-wise, you got 100 points in A phase, which is lovely. But also only 100 points in B phase, which isn't so lovely. But yeah, a nice round 130 points into C phase. And let's jump into the recon tab. And the funny thing about the recon is you have no A phase recon at all. You're pretty much blind as a bat when you come to the first 10 minutes of the match. I mean, you do have one recon plane, but that's in the air tab, because it's a recon plane. But for ground recon, you got regular 2-man squads, either in a Jeep, or coming in an M20, and then C phase you got scouts and M3 scout cars, as well as a few M8 Greyhounds. So, nothing really to say here. Infantry tab, however, it has quite a lot of infantry, and quite a lot of new infantry that are exclusive to this division. Kind of like with 2nd Infantry, where they got a lot of cool, highly veteran guys. Same thing with 1st Infantry, they're just not ranger dudes, just regular Americans with machine guns and satchel charges and lots of bazookas. So the first option for infantry is Assault MG, which is like a American Bren group, but it's actually good because it does more damage than a Bren group, and they only need one machine gun to do that. Also has 2 self-infantry, which helps out. 2 of these squads do a pretty good job of mowing down Panzer Grenadiers and head-on fights, and that's really what they're for, more longer range fights. I mean, they can do alright at CQC because they do have the M1 carbines, but still not exactly ideal. The rest, however, is pretty good CQC infantry, such as Assault Breachers, which is like a engineer squad, essentially, but they also have smoke grenades, and they don't have any SMGs compared to a regular engineer squad. But you do have 3 satchel charges, which is quite a lot of satchel charges. You can really blur everything left, right, and centre, and once again, 2-star veterancy. Assault leaders are an awesome leader unit because they have 1 bazooka, and you can have 2. And the bazookas, especially with 2-star veterancy, hit quite a bit. So it's a very deadly anti-tank unit, as really any tank or vehicle comes within 200 meters is gonna get double teamed by the 2 Zook combo. And I always like to think, I know it's a bit weird, a bit off topic, but when I first heard of these units, the thing that came to my imagination is 1 dude holding 2 bazookas, 1 left shoulder, 1 on the right shoulder, like some sort of Terminator robot nonsense. But no, it's just 2 guys holding 2 bazookas, which is less cool. The assault teams are very cool, or well, hot I should say, as they're a really large flamethrower squad. Yeah, essentially a rifle squad with an added flamethrower and smoke grenades. So, really powerful. They are very expensive at 45 points. These are the same price as Feldjägers, but similar to Feldjägers, if they get in, right opposite of Feldjägers, if they get in really close or anything, it's gonna die. Because assault teams will mess them up. They do have a bit limited in terms of ammunition. The bars don't really hold a lot. The flamethrower usually runs out of charges after 4 to 5 attacks. But then really just down to the M1 Garage. But you do have a smoke grenade. Only 1 but still a smoke grenade, which allows you to, get in closer or disengage from unfavorable situations. And last A phase infantry is this 1 single 50 cal machine gun per card. I mean, 2-star veteranry is nice, but it's only 1 machine gun. It's not exactly card efficient. B phase, you got regular rifles, but you do have 1-star veteranry, which is nice. M1970 HMGs, which are pretty pants, as well as rifle leaders, so you only get 2 of them. So B phase is really quite lackluster. C phase is lovely, as you get lovely amounts of rifles to spam, and because they have veterancy, they're really bloody good. 2-star riflemen are really quite dangerous in close quarters combat, surprise, surprise, and it's only a 20-point squad. You also got this M1919 card, and usually the M1919 is pretty pants, but it's a really good card. You got 6 of them in a card, and you have 2-star veteranry, and the M1919 is pretty reasonably priced at 25 points. It can be kind of iffy to take him over or not, and we'll get to it later when you actually take a look at my deck composition. But by itself, this is a lovely, lovely card. As well, you got some rifle leaders with the GMC with the 50 cal on top. But they only have one bazooka. I mean, there's total leaders of 2, so it's not as cool. The tank tab, in A phase, you got options between regular Stuart as well as single M4 DD, so these are command DDs. And you have no B phase tank, so you're going to have to make these guys survive. You're going to have to do quite a bit of work. You really can't be affording to lose the Shermans. And really, I'd say, I think it's usually a good idea to take both A phase Shermans, because you really do need, you know, you're going to lose run. That's just a matter of fact. And you got to do 20 minutes of this, so might as well take 2. C phase, you get more M4 Shermans or M4A1 models, either command or regular. And they are pretty good in terms of card efficiency, especially C phase M4A1s. It's a very nice card efficient cardio. You know, by C phase, usually it depends on the division you fight against. Usually you fight against German Panzer Division, let's be frank, and you usually want someone a bit more hard hitting. And these Shermans don't exactly have that hard hitting gun. Support tab, not really much here. A phase W, so you're going to need it as you have no B phase supply tracks. A phase M7DDs as well as B phase M7DDs, which are fantastic long range fire support. And they got 250 cals because why have 150 cal and you can have 2. Puts a Sherman to shame. Really interesting card, however, is the M3A1 half track. Is it essentially just a transport half track you get with like LMG rifles or rifle leaders, for example, but you can buy it by itself, which is really cool. Really, really cool and actually very useful. As example is you could buy, like, let's say a few soap breaches, right, and have the half track ready to spawn, unload those soap breaches, load them into the half track, and boom, you're an armored division now. And that's really good for an infantry division. You can do armored division pushes. That's a bit more effort because you have to micro units together, and I believe these half tracks are, I think, at the same price or maybe a little bit more expensive than the transport version. Don't quote me on that. But still, it allows you to do a half-track push, which is great. You can also keep them with the artillery park to relocate your artillery pieces. There's quite a few options using M3 A1 half-tracks, which is cool. And then C phase, you've got a bunch of tracks, which is pretty useful. Pretty useful. Your teammates are going to love you for this, if you're playing a team game, that is. Anti-tank, you got assault bazookas, which is once again 2 bazookas, 1 squad. Gotta love that. 2-star veterancy. A lot of things in this divisional. High veterancy is pretty awesome. And then you got single 6-pounder 57mm guns, I should say. This is an American division, after all. B phase, you got more 57mm. Not exactly card efficient, to be entirely honest. And then you got some 76mm guns. These 76mm guns are extremely important, because they're your only heavy AT in this entire division. You got no Wolverines, you got no upgun Shermans. It's down to these guys, for your ground fights, to keep those Panthers and Tigers and Jagdpanzers at bay. So these are very, very important cards. You got C phase 2-star bazookas, a pretty decent card of 57mm, but usually not as good. Once C phase hits, you usually want more heavier ATS point. They do come in half tracks, which is nice. And then more of the 76mm guns, as well as a card with veterancy, which is pretty important. Anti-air, it's pretty standard American anti-air stuff. You got M16s, you got Bofors, you got M15s. But there's this 1 or 2 odd units. You can get a Bofors transported by an M16 or Bofors transported by an M15, kind of like the Gepard / Flak 38 combo, yeah, 2nd Panzer has. So it's a rather expensive card, 170 points, but you gotta get 2 anti-aircraft pieces in one go. And usually in a 1v1, just this one card, you know, you have the Bofors on the left side of the map, the M15 on the right side of the map. That's usually enough to have, you know, good enough anti-air to have air supremacy. So that's useful. Artillery, you got a few options. You don't really get a lot of options in terms of numbers. You're not as spammy as 2nd Infantry. You got single 81mm 2-star mortars, which is nice. And then you got the Ford OP. It's the Commando LCTR rocket thing, but not as cheesy. There's half the rocket on it. so you're not going to be shooting a 5-minute barrage. Instead, you got 5 barrages with this. It's the only off-map artillery with the option of having 5 barrages. And they're pretty good. Usually, I think with the regular, like, medium-size artillery option, it's pretty much instantaneous. It's just a huge hail of rockets that drop down in 1 second, completely stress out everything. A very important unit for those A-phase pushes. You drop it in a town or a choke point, everything's immediately stunned. Like, it's just 1 second, boom, everyone's panicking and the Germans are running away back to the Siegfried line. So, a very useful card. You got 5 charges, so feel free to spread it around. You want to just use 1 charge to just knock out a single pack 38? That's not going to be inefficient. You've got 4 more left. Knock yourself out, bud. You also got a bunch of 105mm howitzers in A, B, and C phase, getting more per card and more veterancy. B phase 107mm, B phase Priest. You also got naval off map, but in an M20. The naval isn't inside the M20, it'd be pretty hard to fit like an IRO class battleship. I think it's probably an IRO class battleship in Normandy, I don't exactly know. Nonetheless, inside of an M20 grey M20 scout car, if you manage to do so, please let me know. And then more priests and more 105, so nothing really too fancy here. Air tab, let's just remove this. So I did say you do have a recon option on A phase, and that's this A20C. It's a recon plane. It's not the best in the world. It's faster than your regular, like, Cessna style recon plane, but still pretty slow. It's still pretty weak. You only have 1 machine gun on the back. This guy here, he's not gonna really save your ass from enemy fighters that ain't exactly World War One. So it's a bit iffy, but usually at the same time, a lot of German divisions don't have that crazy A-phase, air power. So you can usually fly this round with not too much issue. You also got A-phase P-38 Lightnings to also keep the sky that's clear to help your A-20 stay in the sky. And you also got these A-phase rocket plane Lightning. This is just a light rocket plane one, and there's also a second rocket plane Lightning which we're about to get to. B-phase, more P-38. It's pretty much the entire air tabs as P-38. So you got bomber versions of the P-38, as well as the best one of the all. This is what really makes the division actually pretty decent. It's this single plane alone. As this P-38 Lightning has the same rockets as the P-47 Thunderbolt rockets plane, but it has 4 more. You got 40% extra rockets, 40% more DACA. It's also 30 points cheaper, albeit it's not as fast and it's not as resilient compared to the P-47. But it's 30 points cheaper. You can live with it. And this plane is an absolute monster because you don't have much in terms of heavy AT. This is really gonna make up for dealing with Panthers and Tigers, as you can kill Panthers and Tigers with this. Of course, you want to try to get snipe shots. It's not as reliable as a Typhoon AT, I find. But still, if you don't kill it, they're going to really be stressed out. Because these rockets don't mess around. 14 rockets times 15 HC, that's a lot of kabooms. Or an AT gun. Anything that's on the receiving end of this plane is not going to have a good time at all. You also got more C-phase fighters, as well as C-phase heavy P-38 bombers with 2 450 kilogram bombs. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at a deck that I built earlier. If I'm not blind, there we go. Once again, deck codes in the description below, all that good stuff. So, Recon tab, pretty standard stuff, just 1 card of B-phase Recon, C-phase Scout, and I take a card if I make Greyhound. So I used to take 2-star runs, as I find the extra veterancy helps out quite a bit. In terms of infantry, I'm taking 2 assault MGs, 2 assault breaches, assault leaders, and 2 assault teams, which gives us 3 extra cards later on, and I'm just filling up with riflemen. That is, if I do the math correctly, that's 15 rifle squads, which should be enough to keep you in the game. It's not as spammy compared to second infantry, but they got the veterancy, so they should be a bit more survivable. And I was saying before, the M1919, it is a good card, but because with first infantry, you really need to take as much of the A phase awesome dudes which aren't card efficient by any stretch of the imagination as you can, because you need to be able to do that A phase push, as first infantry is really an A phase make it or break it division, I usually find, and you need the B phase rifle and the C phase rifles to really help hold the line. And compared to the rifle squads, the M1919s are just they're not as tanky. They're much more squishy. They do more damage at longer range, and you got me there. But the riflemen are just a bit more useful in a general all-around purpose role. Tank tab, one of the Stuart card, 2 M4DDs and A-phase, and T-phase M4A1. It's not great, but it's enough to get you by, essentially. Support, A-phase W, C-phase GMC, 1 A-phase M7DD, and then the M3A1 half tracks is, I think, a really, really good card. You should always take the M3A1 half tracks. And also, you know, it's more 50 cals. You can't say no to more 50 cals. You're playing American Division. You have to take all the 50 cals you possibly can. Anti-tank, 1 assault bazooka squad, 2 of the A-phase 57mm, and then 2 B-phase 76s, 1 C-phase 76s. We've got 6 ground-based heavy AT weapons, and that's all we got for a ground-based heavy AT. Try to make sure these guys don't die. You really can't afford to be losing these heavy AT guns against Panzer Division, especially such as like 1st SS or Troph SS or 2nd, really any Panzer Division. And so yeah, A-phase Bofors, A-phase Bofors of M15 I should say, B-phase Bofors and then C-phase M15. You're gonna have air supremacy if you get this stuff. I mean, American AA is extremely good. It's lovely, and it's all mobile, well mostly mobile. Only M15's mobile, but the M15's are a goddamn juggernaut by themselves. Artillery. For air phase, we're only taking the Ford, as I usually find it to be more than enough. I mean, it's nice mortars, but it's just not really card efficient. And the Forge, you know, you really do need it to strike the town or strike the defensive point and then rush in. B-phase heavy mortars, B-phase naval off map. I'd really say both naval off maps are pretty much mandatory for this division, and then C-phase 105mm howitzers. Air tab. Wow, I'm trying to think of something. Anyway, I don't take the A-phase recon plane, as I want to take more planes that can actually do damage and blow stuff up, as the air tab is pretty important for 1st Infantry, to get to it a little bit later. Anyway, both of the P-38 rocket planes, and A-phase and C-phase P-38 Lightnings. I also want to note, these rocket planes do actually act as pretty decent fighters. They have the same resilience and agility compared to the regular P-38, so just not as fast, but 550 kilometers an hour, that's still pretty decent. You know, you're the same speed as a Messerschmitt 109. That's not too bad. And then both C-phase heavy P-38 Lightnings. So, overall, the pros of this division. Awesome A-phase infantry, like assault breachers, assault teams. You're just going to be blowing up and burning everything to a crisp if you manage to get into a forest or town. Like, yeah, this is awesome infantry. And they have smoke grenades, which is great. The smoke grenades make a huge difference for any CQC infantry squad. Lightnings in the sky. I mean, all the planes is bloody P-38 Lightnings, but they're all pretty good P-38 Lightnings. You pretty much get every single type of P-38 Lightning within the 1st Infantry. And the air tab is extremely important. And also, you have really just like the good deck composition and resources to make an A-phase push. As you guess, 1st Infantry, it's all about being the first one on the fight, just like an Omaha. Yeah, Omaha landing on the beaches, yada yada. I think it was Omaha 1st Infantry though, don't quote me on that. Nonetheless, you're all about doing that A-phase push with an infantry division, nonetheless, not like a tank division, for example. I guess you could argue Commandos is an infantry division. They just got a lot of those A-phase Shermans. Nonetheless, however, 1st Infantry is really good at making those A-phase pushes, especially if you're assigned to a town or forest. You're just gonna kill everything with the veterancy. You got the Shermans, you got the air power, you got the rocket off map. You got the whole kit cadoodle. Now the cons of the division, the big run, or one of the big major runs, is you have no A-phase recon, which is pretty big deal. You're going to be pretty blinded at that for the first 10 minutes of 1st Infantry, and that's not good. As those M4DDs are very important, and you can't afford to run them into AT guns. You're not really going to have an efficient way of spotting AT guns. Yes, you got the A20 that you can get, but still, it's not ideal only having 1 or 2 recon planes. And even then, I really wouldn't recommend taking the A20, as you need all the airplane firepower. You have poor B-phase income. It's pretty obvious 100 points in B phase isn't exactly anything to brag home about. Lack of heavy AT. And that's what I mean by the air tab. Because you lack a heavy AT, your air tab is extremely important in stopping tank pushes. It's not the most reliable way to blow up a panther or kill tigers, but it's gonna be pretty much your main way of really dealing with it, as you can just gonna have to keep bombing them until they eventually blow up, and keep forcing them to run away and get their head together after being bombed to bits by 14 high explosive rockets to the face. So your air tab is extremely important, and because of that, I really recommend taking as much of those heavy attack bomber planes and P-38 liners as you can. In my deck, I have pretty much 5 ground attack P-38, which I usually find is enough. And also a real big run of First Infantry. One thing I really hate personally about playing as First Infantry is that, like, your 6th Airborne, you just kind of ran out of stuff. Because everything's really in A phase. Like, you don't really have anything awesome ground-wise, to be honest. You don't got any Wolverines or upgun Shermans. Your AT gun's pretty meh. Your artillery's, I mean, you got some nice veterancy and stuff, but, well, it's no xylophones. The anti-airs are alright, your support's pretty, I mean, the half ranks are cool. But it's really just, a lot of the equipment's pretty, it's pretty standard. There's nothing really, unique or really powerful to it. You're really just using, like, just a standard American infantry loadout. There's nothing really crazy here. Because of your air tab, as I keep hammering on about, is really important. Because you're just not going to have anything to buy once you hit C phase. You've got a lot of income, but your riflemen are pretty cheap. Your AT guns are pretty cheap. A lot of the stuff's pretty cheap in this division. The most expensive ground unit in this entire division. Well, I mean, you could say it's an off-map naval piece, which you're right. But really, it's like the Howitzer or the M15. There's nothing like expensive to save up for. No jumbos, no up guns, no Calliopes. That's all armor division, especially 3rd armor division stuff. And because of that, you're just gonna have a lot of points floating. And really, the only thing to really invest in, the stuff that costs a lot of money, is the air tab. So you need to get the air tab up and running. You need to get those airplanes flying about and just bombing the everlasting Jesus out of everything, and that's going to keep you in the match. Because you're just going to run out of stuff. You're going to run out of, good ground-based play, especially against, later C-phase Axis divisions. A lot of those Axis divisions can be really scary in C-phase, and they get the tanks and all the Panther Grenadiers, and you're like, oh god, I'm being mowed down by MG42s from 3 different angles. Please save me, American Air Force. I need your total air supremacy. But, nonetheless, yeah, pretty much summarizes the deck composition of First Infantry. So let's take a look in how they actually perform in a match. And we are back, and this is a 1v1 on Charmant Le Avant. Entry of JagdSauce playing as First Infantry, and Skimore Hawk, I'm just going to call him Hawk, playing as First Asset, which is really fitting now to think about it. So let's take a look at JagdSauce's deck. It's quite a bit different, quite a bit less in recon. He's going to be opting to remove one or so MG and taking some rifle leaders in B phase. Heavier and C phase tanks, less in their support, not taking those half tracks. AT is pretty much the same. Anti-air, a bit more heavier. Artillery, a little bit more heavy of the A phase 105 and 81mm, not often take the 107s. And the air power is going to be taking a recon plane. A lot of those P-38 option to take the 2-star P-38 fighters on B phase, which is also pretty good, especially in a 1v1, I'd say. As you get more bang for your buck, essentially getting the P-38, so it's not as card efficient, not going to have as many planes in the sky, and taking the C phase P-38s, but, nonetheless, it's whatever. And then taking both P-38 rocket planes, because you have to take those, it's mandatory. So it's absolutely mandatory. But, nonetheless, in terms of this actual replay, it's a very good map for First Infantry, really an ideal map, as we got this big bloody forest here, and JagdSauce has the better side of the forest. It's much easier getting this forest when you start on this side of the map. On the other side, you just get choke point into this choke point, and if your opponent has half a brain, it is going to artillery it, and then you're kind of buggered. And the rest of the map's pretty easy to defend with AT guns. You got a lot of hedgerows to put those 57mm and 76mm all over. So as you see, left side's pretty light. There's a few infantry and bazookas there, not even option to get any AT guns. Right hand side, however, this is where the first infantry is going to do their first assault. They got the M4DD, they got the AT gun, and they got a bunch of infantry, probably assault breachers and assault teams, all mixed in, as well as an 81mm mortar. Whilst Mohawk is going to be a little bit slow to the deployment. That's definitely a little bit silly, I'd say. You really want to fast move your Pumas and Stugs. And the actual does manage to get into the forest in a 57mm here in a lovely position to take a pot shot and kill that 232. And Mohawk going to be dropping some mortars into the forest. You know, he's blind fire, so he is missing completely. And first infantry does have a pretty good A-phase infantry lineup. You know, in CQC, they're a little bit lackluster. They only got like a few of those Stern Pioneers. They're rather tough customers to deal with those Stern Pioneers, especially when the JagdSauce infantry are in the best position as they're extremely bunched up. But nonetheless, we'll see how this engagement goes. But the JagdSauce got an important +1 point advantage, and you really do need that +1 point advantage in A-phase. But so breaches do manage to get the charge off, and as you see, does devastating damage against the Stern Pioneers. And the Stern Pioneers aren't going to be doing much Sturming. The same with the JagdSauce's assault teams, they're not going to be doing much assaulting. But they do manage to get out with not too many casualties. Left side's pretty quiet, just get another AT gun for defense. And the JagdSauce making perfect use of that mortar piece to pin down the Stern Pioneer. He also has the M4DD in a good position. A little bit exposed. If there's an AT gun here, he probably would get killed. But first SS doesn't really get A-phase AT guns, if I recall. So there is worry about it. And also, even though JagdSauce, I mean, if you take a look at his view, you can't really see too much. Just sees those two things. And same thing, some Hawk. He doesn't really see much either. But that's because both these divisions don't have A-phase recon. Ground recon, I should clarify. So it doesn't really matter if you're blind to the bat. If your enemy is blind to the bat, you can, you know, both shoot guns in the dark. But Smo has managed to make a decent dent so far, but once JagdSauce get more infantry now, in terms of A-phase attrition, he has the A-phase attritional warfare down, as he got so many of those good assault teams and assault breaches to throw into that fray. 81mm mortars is going to be doing some work. I mean, 3-star veterancy is rather deadly. Yeah, all pathfinding there on the JagdW is not going to be ideal. Going to expose himself completely to the Stug. That's one thing you have to be careful on. Now would be a very good time to drop the smoke. But at least meant to get the assault teams in there. And he's going to be finding 81mm mortars on these exposed Stern Pioneers. Does pull back the assault breaches. And as you see, once his second rave hits the forest, JagdSauce's pretty much just going to clear shop. Unless the Stern Pioneers get perfect hits on the assault breaches, but the rest of the guys are coming in now. Got the second Sherman being brought onto the left. And it's vitally important that JagdSauce tries not to lose the Shermans. I mean, it's gonna happen. It usually happens. Like, I usually don't see when I play or find other people that both Shermans survive or the Rangers you'll see face. As you know, if you're fighting First Infantry, they only have those two tanks. I mean, they may have some Stuarts, but they're not really that big of a threat once B-phase hits. You knock out those two tanks, you got complete and utter open ground dominance, apart from dealing with some pesky AT guns. And even then, I mean, the 57mm are pretty scary close range, but the 76s don't have any veterancy, so there's going to be a pretty good chance that the 76s miss if they're shooting that max range. In terms of the head-on fight against the Stug, it's pretty even on. Okay, Stug gets first shot, first kill, stabilizes on the Sherman. Didn't save it. But in more close range fight, where Sherman can get around and flank Snugger, and of course, Sherman will win. But usually, the person flanking wins most engagements. But Sherman more so. But JagdSauce managed to make a real nice dent in the right hand side and got a lovely +2 point advantage. And this is a really good area to hold, as you got nice, long, thick forest along this road, which makes it pretty easy to defend. Put some AT guns here later on, and Bob's your uncle. He's going to be moving up his infantry to take the right hand side. And this is pretty good first infantry play. Just, he's not going completely balls to the wall, but he's managed to, got that +2. He's going to lose a second Sherman now to the start, and that's going to be pretty big, huge blow to his forces, as he has no tanks for the next 18 minutes or so. But a mortar half track almost got killed there by the Sherman, I believe. So it's going to have to require a supply truck, because it's probably not going to come out to a B phase, and then the Panzer Snug is going to fall back, as he doesn't know where the AT gun is. Don't want to risk it, which is smart. We've got a heavy artillery piece, that's a 105 here. And then JagdSauce getting a very nice easy +2. He's not really able to really fight or hold his ground that much. Smohawk is really just giving it to him. At the same time, it's only too much Hawk can really do. He doesn't really have to recon to spot and shoot at his American infantry or really artillery anymore, because his mortar half track is kind of out of action for now. At long range, Panzer Grenadiers are going to do a pretty good job against those assault teams. As with most allied infantry divisions, or allied divisions in general, you don't fight Panzer Grenadiers at long range for the most part. They all mess you up. We've seen the double AA combo come out to the right hand side. 37mm gun gets a lovely ambush on the Snug and kills it. And you're on B phase, seeing the 76 being brought out to the right. The Snug is trying to break through. But he's going to get rocketed by the P-38 heavy lightning, heavy rocket plane. And as you can see, tremendous damage. Here he's going to get chased down by a Focke-Wulf, but fortunately he has 2 anti-aircraft pieces here. So the P-38 is probably going to get out. Yeah, he's good. He's good. Very, very lucky both of his AA pieces came out when they did, as he would have lost that airplane. You really can't afford to lose those P-38 lightnings. The heavy rocket ones it is. The fighters, also, you can lose a fighter or two. The Bofors is just laying at it at the Panzer grounds. I've seen some recon being brought into the middle. I think it's the first recon unit this entire match. Yeah, 2 recons, which is definitely a good call. You can't really shoot stuff if you can't see it. And it's really just standard defense here. I mean, I'm just speeding through it at times too. There's nothing really interesting happening. It's just a bit of a long-range skirmish. But JagdSauce just has a nice defensive position. He can't really push any more further. He doesn't have the presence to deal with his Stugs and machine guns. For now. I mean, he's got this heavy AT gun being brought to the right. And at that range, the 76 should be able to get like, the easy kill on the Stug. He is going to get spotted. Or he is spotted, I should say, and getting strafed by the Focke-Wulf. And gets a perfect stun up on the 76 here. And you got the heavy artillery, or medium artillery, I should say, howitzer. Pounding array. I think it's trying to hit the mortar half track, but it has relocated. And JagdSauce is going to be forced to fall back to the safety of the forest, which is still going to be really easy to hold. I mean, you got all these awesome CQC guys in a big fat forest, so you're going to be fine. Especially against 1st Infantry. This 1st Infantry really just comes down to Panzer Grenadiers and Volksdeutsche dudes, which aren't the best in CQC. JagdSauce is trying to make some movements on the left hand side here. Fortunately, there's nothing really here to stop him with the M20. It's going to be enough to suppress down the Panzer Grenadier. And the Bofors forcing that Stug to bugger off, giving the 76 ample time to set up position and try to return some fire which is what he's going to do. Oh, no, but Stug does a dodge or duck out of range just in the nick of time. But still a nice +2 from Jagd. I mean, he's not really going to make any more progress at this point. It's pretty. You can't really push that row of B phase with 101st. 1st Infantry. That's 100 one too many, 101st. We are seeing naval off map, and that's a pretty big kaboom there. You can definitely consolidate your ground when the ground's been pummeled by big ass 356mm cannons from an offshore battleship, which is really cool. I don't know if any of you guys played Shogun 2, Fall of the Samurai, but the ability to like drop in naval off map in that game was so great, especially considering it's, you know, it's like 19th century. You know, dropping in a bunch of naval cannons on some Japanese samurai. Such a good time. Such a good time. Nonetheless, Mortar's doing its thing, Smohawk, and that naval off map is just going to be bang on the mark here. I mean, those Pentagondiers, they don't know it, but they're completely buggered. You see, everything is kaput. And the maps are getting closer to try to blow up the artillery. You see JagdSauce still holding that nice +2. And Manson killed the AT gun left, or the tank on the left hand side with an AT gun. Yeah. Yanks is holding the ground. It was a very good map for 1st Infantry. As I say, Hawk hasn't got any recon out, which is really hurting him. Because he doesn't see anything. He knows the AT gun's there, but only because the AT gun is shooting at him. P38 Lightning comes in, strikes the Stug, and as you can see, kills it. Just like that. I think the Stug was a bit damaged from earlier. AA's in to save his arse. And great use of air power, and using the P38 to chase down a Fokkerov. Absolutely fantastic. You need to have air supremacy of 1st Infantry, or you pretty much lost the game. As you especially want to get later C phase. As you see C phase later on. Alright, this isn't C phase, but already Smohawk has 3 bloody tanks being brought out one right after the other. I mean, only Panzer IV Js, but considering the only tanks that JagdSauce has is M31 Shermans, it's a pretty even fight. And Hawk has much more tanks, much heavier tanks. And he's going to be getting a Flak 88 out, which is probably a good call. Yeah, it's probably going to get kind of battery now. I think about a 105. Tried to do an assault out some infantry, but it got stomped down by the stormtroops. SS stormtroops. Got the 118M artillery piece firing array. And left hand side, JagdSauce's position isn't looking too great. As you're getting pinned down a bit. But at this point, JagdSauce has so much points. Yeah, even though he's in C phase, it's not gonna matter. He's pretty much already run the match. And really, that's 1st Infantry. I know I've pretty much rushed through this replay and same for the deck thing, but there's really not much to say about 1st Infantry. It's an extremely generic deck. There's nothing fancy in it. It's nothing crazy. It's just regular American equipment doing a regular American equipment things. The only real cool things is the awesome 8th phase infantry. That's really it, and the P38 heavy rocket plane, but it's just a regular rocket plane when you look at it. You're just using regular, generic, simple stuff, which is cool, but it's also really the curse of Division, as that stuff doesn't really get you through the later stages of most matches, but if you play it correctly, which JagdSauce meant to do, you won't have to worry about later stages of the matches, because by that time, you should have already run, or got a really good point lead, so you can, fall back a bit and just hold some decent positions. And now we're just going to finish through this. And that's going to be the end of Yad. I actually liked when I said the M20 like recon were the first recon units out, because there was a Puma in A phase, and that is actually a recon unit. It's not the best one. Nonetheless, Smohawk took a lot of casualties. Yeah, I'm really gonna say a lot of that's due to the fact he didn't have much recon. I mean, it sounds really silly. Like, the recon isn't gonna kill stuff. It isn't gonna kill the tanks. Well, kill the infantry or whatnot. But it's gonna need to spot the infantry so the other stuff can kill it. Especially against first infantry, where it's all about hiding in forests and towns. You really do need that recon support. Looking at history, SOAT teams, AT guns doing pretty good, of course. SOAT teams are really quite nasty stuff, yeah. And yeah, it says naval off map getting a bunch of kills, AT guns getting a bunch of kills. Yeah, AT guns really did their work. Same about off map. Jeez Louise, such quite a good amount of damage done. In terms of losses, yeah, lost those 2 M4s, and then, you know, just some infantry. And that's the thing. I mean, the kills may not seem high for Smohawk, but a lot of first infantry stuff's pretty cheap. There's no real... I mean, he didn't lose any of the P-38 heavy bombers or any of his airplanes, which is like, you know, a big boost to your kill score, but most of the stuff first infantry is cheap, generic stuff. There's nothing really fancy. I think a really good way to think about it, it's like if you're playing like Age of Empires, like 2, for example, and you're pretty much just stuck in the Castle Age. You can't expand past the Castle Age into the Imperial Age. You're just stuck in Age 3 the entire match. You can't go any further. That's first infantry. You're just stuck in that age. You're stuck in that tech level for the entire match. You can't, you know, get enough food and wood and resources to research the next tech and, you know, get the awesome 76mm guns and whatnot. 76mm Shermans, I should say. But yeah, that's first infantry. I'm going to leave it off at that. This has been another Steel Divisional overview. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as usual, please just take it easy. Bye-bye.